Right, thank you, Balazs. So everyone should be seeing a new address at the top of these slides now. I'll give you all a moment to copy this, switch over to the new Q&A session. And if at any point you have any questions during the presentation, even as I'm talking, feel free to submit them. If someone is posting the same question, you can upvote them to show your interest. Just in general, be interactive. So let's give everyone a few more seconds and dive into the new presentation on the latest addition to Easyling's toolbox. In fact, an addition so new that it's not even available to everyone yet. The Cloud Analyzer, or the tool for lead generation at scale. Now, the first question I would like to discuss is the why. Why did we create this tool? What was the problem we were trying to solve? Well, the problem was the challenge, the task of finding among all the leads your marketing, your outreach, your lead gen people are getting you, who's ready to be approached with the proxy, who's ready to be approached for translation in the first place. Now, we did have a couple of specific business cases in mind. While the current build focuses on the pre-sales phase of clients, that is analysis of new marks, new targets who can be approached, that's not the only place where we think this is going to come in handy. Even once you select a client to approach, we're intending this tool to be used throughout the life cycle of the project. For instance, during the quotation phase, this tool can help you analyze the website for complexity, for red flags, potential hurdles and traps that might yield some nasty surprises. Overall, the information will allow you to tailor your approach play better for the client you're targeting and offer services with confidence. But in the future, we're also intending to release QA, quality assurance capabilities in the analyzer so that you can pick up on potential problems faster, easier, more efficiently. But there is already a solution to these problems: meticulous analysis. Of course, this solution brings its own problems along, precisely because you have to be thorough, meticulous in your examination of the site. This solution is hard to scale, it's labor intensive, it requires a lot of forethought and planning even before you can approach one of your prospective clients with a demo, with a quotation. Fortunately, computers are here for us to take this burden off our back. So let's dive into the what, how exactly we went about solving these problems. Now, I know we have some technologically inclined folks in the audience, so before people ask, I'd like to discuss the background a bit, but really just a single slide without getting too technical. What we're doing is we're using a Chromium browser controlled by Google's Puppeteer protocol. This allows us to behave exactly like a visitor would on the site. And because we're using a real browser, not just something that approximates a browser, we can simulate a flesh and blood visitor as close as we can. Of course, because of this, it's still subject to browser-based filtering or choices. So if the server tries hard enough, then yes, it can play funny games with the analyzer. But what's important to realize is that it will also be playing these funny games with the actual visitors. Now, in order to make the system scalable so that you can process potential targets as fast as your marketing team can give them to you, we're using Cloud Run for near infinite scaling. The analyzer can process any number of URLs in a single run, or at the very least, I haven't managed to kill it yet, and I've been doing my best. And because Chromium loads and runs JavaScript, obeys the CSS directives, everything in the site, it's not just able to give you an idea of how the page will behave, it's also able to take screenshots and behave as if you were printing the site so that you can spot potential problems in the layout or create demonstration screenshots to show your client. Now, we are preparing this system for a number of use cases, like I said, all throughout the project lifecycle, from pre-sales through setup all the way to post-translation QA. In our imagination, we begin at the pre-sales phase when your lead gen team gives you a mark, someone who they think will be interested in your services. Feeding their website through the analyzer, we can detect if they're already using a proxy, one of the big four of translation proxies, or if they have one of the most popular client-side frameworks already in place. But not just that, we can pick up on the most popular and also most troublesome JavaScript frameworks that could indicate a need for more in-depth analysis, more reverse engineering, or the type of hosting in some cases that they're using, which could indicate a need for certain specific configurations, whether it's on our side, like adding exclusion rules out of the box, or if the client needs to disable some features to make your life easier. And not just that, but Balázs has been mentioning HubSpot and Marketo. Well, these seem to be the most common sources of dynamic content. So one of my first thoughts was to make the analyzer able to pick up on these. Of course, like I said, the capabilities continue throughout the project lifecycle with various types of analysis. Based on the discussions yesterday, we decided the analyzer should be able to give you at least an estimate to correlate page views to proxied requests to see just how much traffic the site could generate. Further, it's also capable of identifying potential caching issues that could inflate costs and would serve as a red flag for your quotation. And speaking of red flags, I'm also intending it to be able to give you to call out red flags like pre-localized content, presence of a blog, a news roll, shopping carts, etc. And even once translation completes, we are intending the system to be used to detect dynamic content from scripts or from potential layout problems that stem from text expansion or even text contraction. Now, like I said, this is a very new tool, so new in fact that it's not completely available yet. But to give you a sneak peek, this is the current UI. Yes, very Spartan for the time being, but we do have plans to integrate this into the dashboard and the page list so that you get easier access to the relevant functions. For the time being, the preferred output is a CSV file that you can then process on your own, but we're intending other output types to be integrated as well, from Excel spreadsheets through HTML tables to Evro files, what have you. And like I said, we had intended use cases in mind. We also had intended flows in mind that serve as sort of a guideline on how to use the system once we fully roll it out. The basic flow that we had in mind was the pre-sales approach flow. So the idea here is that your market research teams give you a list of candidates who they think will be a good fit for the proxy. You can feed these candidates through the analyzer and determine translation state, determine if they're already using proxies, what technologies they have on their website, if there are any red flags that you need to watch out for. And with this information in mind, you can formulate an intended approach script, taking everything from their website, from their business, from your core competencies into account, and propose the client for translation with confidence. But like I've been saying, our capabilities will not stop here, and we're intending the system to be useful for post-translation analysis as well, so that you can review the site without spending countless hours just poring over translated pages. The idea here is that once the regular translation process completes, the analyzer can be used to quickly and efficiently locate potential glitches, any remaining content, etc., so that they can either be handled internally as needed or called out to us, the client, other in-house resources, and processed as necessary. And finally, almost finally, I would like to give you a look in the crystal ball, a little look on what we have in store. Although this is not quite ready yet, we're intending the analyzer to be able to pick up on layout interference, content being shifted out of place either because of text expansion or because of CSS problems. But not just that, we're also intending to implement analytics capabilities, market shares, and industry breakdowns so that you can direct outreach efforts into areas of known expertise or advantages that you have. And finally, we're looking to give you suggestions out of the box. For instance, certain tweaks being enabled, exclusions that ought to be added to the project based on the detected technologies, so that even the first scroll can be executed with precision and with confidence. So in conclusion, the point that I want everyone to take home from this presentation is that this is going to be a tool to enable lead generation, lead processing at any scale, and it's going to be useful. We're looking for it to be useful at every point in the project's lifecycle. So now let's open up for the QA session.